Persons have been talking about, but away from that, the governor is not distracted by that. Is ready to bring the dividend of democracy to the people of Rivers State. That is why instead of channeling his energy into political thoughts, he has rather channeled it into more productive venture where youth of the state can be relieved from the youth restiveness, crime and criminality, courtesy of his interest in sport generally. And I think for me the financial reward being splashed out there to different sporting federation, I think for me is a nice one because it's going to encourage a whole lot of talent to spring forth from Rivers State, and I think for me it is the right way to go.
Well, it was full of commendation for the sports commissioner by Sir Christopher Green for ensuring leadership in the ministry that has led to continuous winning of laurels from victorious Rivers athletes. Talking about Rivers athletes that were partakers of this, were 17 players of Rivers United youth team. Of course, they won the league last season, and they had 30 million naira of the shares. Then Rivers Hoopers as well had 25 million. You remember, Rivers Hoopers won the league. Rivers Angels we had 25 million. Rivers beach volleyball team were victorious as well. They had 10 million, while the hockey team had 10 million. Others that were beneficiaries of the largesse of the governor were the table tennis team that had 5 million. The Rivers judo team had 3 million. Chess had 5 million. Volleyball team had 10 million. The Paralympics team had 10 million. Cycling 5 million. Supporters club had 20 million. And individuals who won trophies to receive 2.5 million naira each. This is, a prize galore for winners. It pays to channel your energy into sports than criminality.
True, and I think that is what the governor is also doing, trying to reward some of the sportsmen and women handsomely and financially as well. It's beyond, handshake this time around, because over the years we've seen that a handshake and all of that doesn't really put food to the tables of these sportmen and women whenever they go out there to do us proud. Coming back home and receiving just a handshake is not good enough, and the governor has taken a bold step to also encourage them financially. And taking a look at it, individual go home with a sum of 2.5 million naira. Even the sport supporters club as well, they are not also left aside. The sum of 20 million naira. So for me, I think it is very, very massive, and this is going to also encourage the youth as well to take, to invest their strength and energy into productive venture like sports, and not going to the street to actually, steal some things, engage in drugs and all of that. So for me, I think it's a nice one for the governor to think outside the box, trying to use sport as a way of providing jobs and opportunities for the teaming youth of Rivers State.
Well, Rivers State doing everything to ensure that athletes are motivated to perform better at a tournament where sports is concerned. The national, let's say, state sports festival is due in December, and the commission has been directed to ensure that it becomes one of the best way of catching athletes very young. What do you expect from the sports ministry towards organizing a befitting or an eye-catching sports festival? It's been a really long time River State has not had a sports festival of its own.
Yeah, for me, I expect the Commissioner of Sport, talking about Christopher, to go down to the hinterland, go to the grassroots, because that is where you get to catch them young, starting from the school out there down to the world and down to local government level. This is a way, and these are the ways they should follow in order to comb all areas as has to do with the local government of River State, by making sure that they harness most of the growing talent out there. And the state sport festival could be a very veritable platform for the commissioner of sport to actually show what he can do out there, because if he goes a whole long way to organize an impeccable sport festival, and then the nation will get to hear about it, Africa will get to know about it, and the world at large. And River State will begin to compare themselves with the likes of Delta State, Bayelsa, and Lagos State, that is doing massive when it has to do with sport activity. So I expect the Commissioner of Sport to be on ground to ensure that all area is holistically combed, so as for us to unearth a talent that is going to represent River State in the future.
Avenue for exposing raw talents in River State is the State Sports Festival, and expected that the coaches attached to each of them will do everything of going straight to the hinterlands and fishing at raw talents that will be showcased at the State Sports Festival come December this year. The governor expects a spectacular sports festival, that which will showcase the rich talents abound here in River State. So the sports ministry under by Sir Christopher Green has been charged, and we hope they will deliver on this charge by the governor, Sir Similaye Fubra. Now let's go to volleyball, and talking about volleyball reminds me this hour that the Nigerian National Volleyball Federation, that's in Division 1 and 2 championship, has been hosted by Abia State. Only recently, we saw them at Umuahia, where the Nigerian Air Force team, defense spikers, of course, did emerge as winners both in the male and female category. Mike, volleyball beginning to get some attention from state government here in Nigeria.
Yeah, true. And all thanks to Musa Nimrod, who also has been working around the clock to ensure that we'll have a very effective league when it has to do with volleyball. I think for me, it is the way to go. If we truly want to make our mark in Africa and the rest of the world, there is need for us to have a very viable league and some of these tournaments, so as to fish out more talent that will be ready to do the country proud. So for me, if we continue to go this way, I think volleyball is going to gain momentum right here in Nigeria and Africa as a whole. Don't also forget, in Africa, we've actually not been able to stamp our authority when it has to do with a volleyball competition out there. So I believe with what Engineer Musa Nimrod is doing in the area of volleyball, I think if we continue in this trajectory of positivity, then I see a brighter future for volleyball right here in the country.
Talking about the Delta State team, they did emerge winners in the female category, and I'm sure you heard there about Musa Niro, one of the sport federation president here that is doing so well, organizing tournaments. This one having some, do I say, representation from at least 19 states of the country.
Yeah, 19 states actually took part in this very one out of the 31 states, including the Federal Capital Territory. Maybe in next edition we are going to see more states, taking part in it, because the more the states continue to take part in it, the more we continue to see new talent, emerge from this very one. But I think it's a good start. 19 states out of 31 is a nice one. We are hoping that maybe next edition more states will show or indicate interest.
Well, let's hope that more states will indicate interest. Meanwhile, we'll go to boxing now. And talking about boxing, Francis Ngannou comes to mind because he took less than 4 minutes to knock out Reynald Ferreira, marking an emotional return to the mixed martial arts. Francis Ngannou, Cameroonian, making Africa proud in the mixed martial arts.
Yeah, more than 2 years after he left that scene to try his luck or take up that adventure or voyage down to the world of boxing, leaving the MMA to boxing out there, where he did maybe not a bad one, if I may say, though he took up a fight against Anthony Joshua and the rest. But then he lost some of those fights out there. But one thing you can't take away from him is his adventure, into a strange land, talking about the world of boxing, leaving the octagon down to boxing. After 2 years, he returned back. In fact, it was very, very emotional, him returning back to the, MMA, just because, according to him, it was due to his son that passed on, talking about Kobe. So he wanted to do that for the legacy of the son that just passed away, and he saw him very emotional. It took him less than split a second before he was able to dismantle his opponent, to tell the world that indeed he's still that Francis Ngannou to be reckoned with. So for me, I think it was an impressive comeback for him.
What has his loss to his very first opponent in the main boxing has to do with this decision to maybe return back to mixed martial arts?
Well, we'll just wait to see, because speaking to the press out there shortly after that game, they asked him the same question. He said that his hands are still very, very active, that he will take time to make his decision whether he's returning back to MMA full, or he's still going to try some luck in the boxing. We'll just wait to see, keeping our fingers crossed, hoping that in the next couple of weeks, days, we'll get to know the direction to which Francis Ngannou may be heading to, whether boxing or staying with the octagon.
Let's go now from boxing to tennis. And talking about tennis, Darian Kasatkina has fought her way past Miranda Dreva, who of course is a very good friend to winning the Nibo Open title in China. A Russian fifth seed Kasatkina beat her opponent 6-love, 4-6, 6-4 in a scrappy encounter. Maybe because it has to do with the fact that they are friends. That's why this one had to do with a 2-1.
Yeah, I think for me it was an exciting one, having two friends on the same court, battling it out. But Kazakhstan have always, over the years, whenever they meet, had the upper hand against this her friend out there, and so it wasn't surprising for me that she was able to, pull through in that very one. Though it was a scrappy one, just like you said out there. But what matters is the victory.
What matters is the victory, and Kasatkina has gotten her second title in the year 2024 there. Of course, you know that the Grand Slams are all gone for this year. What's left major is the season-ending championship, and tennis stars, both male and female, are using the opportunity to prepare for the season-ending championship. Tommy Paul, remember him from the United States of America, joining Jenny Signa and Carlos Alcaraz as three-time ATP title winner in the year 2024, when he went past Grigor Dimitrov in the Stockholm final. This is a 500 ATP event, and it's good to add to your ranking points.
Yeah, very, very good. 500 ATP points, very, very good for your ranking point, because the next world ranking comes out. If you add 500 points to what you've garnered throughout the course of the season, at least it helps you to jump up the ranking as well. But I think for me it was a great display from him, and there's matching up the record of Carlos Alcaraz and Yannick Sinner of 3 Grand Slam per season. I think for me it was very, very impressive, and you saw him after the game out there, and also speaking to the press out there. He was very, very excited as well.
Well, if you're a follower of tennis, and of course top-level tennis, then the match between Djokovic and Rafa Nadal should interest you. And this one, Rafa Nadal reflected on his own amazing rivalry with Novak Djokovic. Yet on the losing side, he talked about retiring this year, and Novak Djokovic seemed to have gotten the best of the last match between these two. What do you make of it? Nadal, age 38, said he will retire this year, but losing to Serbian's Novak Djokovic 6-2, 7-6 in a third-place match at the 6th Kings Slam exhibition event in Saudi Arabia may not be a good way to end the rivalry between the two of them.
Yeah, not a good way to end the rivalry between these two great arms. And of course, you take a look at their record, the best when it has to do with long tennis. I think the only man who has the better Grand Slam compared to him is Novak Djokovic, who has won it record 24 times while he's on 22. So I think it was a long rivalry between these two, and for me, ending this rivalry on a losing note before he gets to retire, I think it's not a good one. But then they shared a warm embrace, and also he spoke glowingly about the rivalry over the years. Also, thanked Novak Djokovic for helping him as well to also improve on his game, because without those keenly contested rivalries, I think for me, he wouldn't have get there. He was able to share his thought out there and all of that. Novak Djokovic as well also reciprocated the same gesture by speaking glowingly about him as well. So for me, I think it was a very exciting one to see these two greats, for the last time before Rafael Nadal retired. But I think he's going to play his last game at the Malaga, talking about the Davis Cup, before he actually, call it a quit out there. So for me, I think it's a great way to bow out of the competition.
Rafael Nadal trying to bow out of tennis with exhibition tournament in Saudi Arabia. This tournament, I've seen him being presented with a golden racket, and what a memento to keep in your house, a reflection of what he's been all through his tennis career.
True, and the Saudi authority actually did this very one in his memory, knowing fully well that he will be retiring in a few, maybe call it a few months time. So they actually gave him that golden racket, So for me, I think it's going to be a very golden memory for him out there. Whenever he looks back and take a look at, that golden racket, he will actually remember that, yeah, it was at the Saudi land. That is where I had played my last competitive game against the best players in the whole world out there, and at least it gives him something like a joy for him. So I think for me, it was a nice one from the Saudi authority to present him with that golden racket.
Well, Rafael Nadal, he has just one more match to play before ending his career. That has been a very lofty one that brought him as many as 22 Grand Slams. That's not a mean feat. Only Novak Djokovic has gotten more Grand Slams than Rafael Nadal in male tennis. So we look forward to seeing him at the Malaga Open, and thereafter we will just see him maybe in exhibition games. But now, still talking about tennis here on the Atlantic Television Network, Mike, the rivalry between Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner is building up. World number one, maybe taking out world number 3, Carlos Alcaraz. Jannik Sinner beat him at the finals only about 48 hours ago. Jannik Sinner, 23 years, but he seemed to have lost the first set, but recovered enough to ensuring that his opponent was beaten 6-7, 6-3, 6-3.
Yeah, it was an impressive way for Jannik Sinner to bounce back after losing the first set to Carlos Alcaraz. I think for me, the man has a very strong mental capacity. Taking a look at the whole activity of failed dope tests and all of that, and the inquest, that is still waiting, whether it's going to be banned and all of that. But then he has been able to surmount some of these mental stress and challenges to continue to pull the strings and turn the screw for his own favor. It was an impressive display for him. We want to also say, yeah, at 23, he's doing great things for himself out there. Maybe a little bit of experience, came in, and that is why he had to edge Carlos Alcaraz, who for me as well is not also a bad player. He's also 21 years. Jannik Sinner, 23. You may want to say, yeah, maybe a little bit of experience, that is what actually separated the two. But then it is always a very, very good rivalry whenever we get to see these two. And it looks as though the future of tennis is very, very safe in the hands of these two, talking about Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz, because I think when Novak Djokovic retires right now, I think these two names will continue to hold in sway for this big name that have also gone out, the likes of Rafael Nadal, Novak Djokovic, name them. So I think the future of tennis, you may want to say, is very safe in the hands of Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz. Maybe you talk about Taylor Fritz, Jack Draper, and the rest of them, but these two will certainly be the future of tennis.
Talking about the future of tennis, 21-year-old is definitely a feature of tennis. Italian, the very first Italian to begin to rake in Grand Slam titles, and it wasn't only the ranking points that were at stake. Of course, he, as world number one, he needs to build up more points to stay away from others who are competing to take over that position from him. He had a handsome reward of $6 million for his effort on the night.
Yeah, very impressive one as well, because despite the point ranking, just like you said, out there, and the quest to maintain the top one spot, he still go home with you know, some cash, you know, having his bank account loaded with some dollars out there. It is one of the things why we always talk about the business angle of sport in our sister station out there. You know, we take our time to look at the business end of this. These are some of the things that propel sportmen and women to put in so much effort, you know, in the world of sport out there, because the money, very, very vital. You can't take away the influence of money in a sport, because without money, I do not think that some of these sportmen and women will be putting such energy to ensure that they stay top and make, you know, themselves become famous, you know, across the globe.
Money is key in sports, and not just the recognition, it brings you a lot of fortune as well. We'll have to wrap up this first half of the show, but maybe we'll just bring you one more story from the world of Formula One, where the United States Grand Prix is come and gone for the year 2024. With, are you surprised who won this one, Mike?
Through, I'm very, very surprised, you know, because I was actually looking at McLaren, you know, to lead the charge, because McLaren was very, very close to reducing the gap between them and Red Bull, because it was, I think Max Verstappen of Red Bull was actually leading McLaren with 52 points. So I was thinking maybe McLaren is going to also go all the way to at least reduce the point deficit, but it wasn't to be, as you know, London Norris had a different ball game altogether. It was impressive one, a clinical finish from him out there, and the speed. I think it looks as though they've actually done a little bit of refurbishment in their engine, and that is why we see the level of speed and the swerving out there. And also for me, very, very surprised, coming from behind without anybody giving them a chance. People talked about Max Verstappen of Red Bull, talked about McLaren, maybe Mercedes per se, and nobody actually, you know, saw this one coming.
London Norris winning the United States Grand Prix, and I think we'll just have to give you an ovation there, because he did what ordinarily you would not expect when you have the likes of Max Verstappen trying to ensure that he remains within the top 10. And talking about the top 10 reminds me that Charles Leclerc of Ferrari is leading the top 10, and not Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen of Red Bull, who surprisingly is number 3 on the top 10. Carlos Sainz of Ferrari making the number 2 position. Ferrari, no doubt, showing that they have really improved on their machines.
True, they have really improved on their machine, and we saw that in their last, in the last 3 races out there, where at least they were able to, you know, stage a comeback and make, you know, Red Bull to actually sit very tight to their seat, knowing fully well that they are getting very close to them as well. But then, I think for me, they are doing great. I expected them to at least, you know, to continue the push as it is right now. But for Max Verstappen, who finished 3rd, courtesy of the fact that the 4th position person, driver, actually infringed on some of the track, that is why they had to push him down to 4th position. If not, he would have been in a 3rd position. Courtesy of Max Verstappen staying 3rd right now, he has further increased the point gap from 52 to 57 ahead of McLaren right now.
In the top 10, we have London Norris, winner at United States Grand Prix, you know, in the 4th place position. Oscar Piastri of McLaren. McLaren in 4th and 5th place. We have Ferrari in the 1st and 2nd place.
Yeah, and that is what I'm saying, that they were the one that was even, you know, tipped to give Red Bull or Verstappen a good run for their money, especially for this weekend race. But at least you see them shuttling between 4th and 5th position. It clearly tells you that, you know, their drivers are doing pretty well. 2nd
place driver for Mercedes, George Russell, is 6th place. Sergio Perez of Red Bull is 7th, while Nico Hülkenberg of Haas is in the 8th place position. Liam Lawson of Red Bull is there in the 9th place position. Then Williams, Franco Colapinto, is the 10th place driver. We'll take a break now. When we return from a break, we'll look at football for you and where a lot is happening The Nigeria Premier League match day 7 has been concluded, and across Europe, Manchester United begin to show that they can compete, while Chelsea flopped at the weekend. When we return from a break, we'll let you know this and many more, especially as FC Barcelona goes crazy last night. Stay with us.
The people of Maiduguri need your help. A catastrophic flood has engulfed the city, leaving over 1 million residents stranded and fighting for survival. Entire communities are submerged, with people trapped inside homes and on rooftops cut off from food, clean drinking water and essential supplies. Health experts are warning of a potential outbreak of deadly diseases, and medical facilities are out of commission. The situation is dire. Helicopters, boats and high-riding trucks capable of navigating the treacherous, waterlogged areas are urgently required to reach the countless men, women and children still awaiting rescue. The Nigerian media is issuing a desperate plea to the government, humanitarian organizations, international actors and citizens across the nation. Step in now, before it's too late. For more information on how you can help, contact Professor Usman A. Tar, the Honorable Commissioner for Information and Internal Security, Borno State, on 0809-233-3955. Every second counts.
This is powered by Atlantic Television Network.
Welcome back. It's Sports Talk here on Atlantic Television Network, and of course we told you how the River State Governor Sasimila Ifura had splashed cash over 160 million naira on various sporting athletes from River State that has won laurel in the course of the year across several federations. I must say 160 million, and of course charging the sports commissioner to ensure that the forthcoming River State Sports Festival in December be very spectacular. Meanwhile, we told you how it's been a very big one for Cameroon's Ngano, who has returned back to his beloved sports, which is the mixed martial arts, and maybe he will now stay away from the main rounds of boxing. Let's go to football in this half of the program. Mike, the Nigerian Professional Football League is into match day 7, but the National League, the Nigerian National League, is yet to start. Ahead of the kickoff of the Nigerian National League, there is a pre-season seminar aimed for coaches and media officers on how to ensure that the league is properly reported in the course of the year.
I think for me it's very, very key, because some of these coaches and the key actors in the NNL, they need to be abreast with the latest development in the world of football, especially on how to also manage the league to see that become viable, very effective. And as well, we saw a bit of this same kind of seminar last season as well, and of course we saw a little bit of improvement in the NNL. This time around, because of that improvement of last season, they want to also replicate the same seminar at the Ikene Stadium, at the Remo Stars stadium out there, which for me I think is one of the best stadium that we have when you talk about the MPFL. So for me I think it's very key, so that media officers get to know the things that they will do, or the reportage that they should go out there to the media to help improve the course of the league. And the coaches as well need to be abreast with the latest, as it has to do with addressing the media. Sometimes when I listen to coaches addressing the media shortly after match days, I begin to wonder whether they do actually listen to their foreign counterpart when they grant an interview to the media shortly after the game. Talk about the technicalities of what transpired in the game. Sometimes you see some of our coaches out here, after a match, you go to the media to, have a media party or chat with the media. They'll be saying something that is quite different, unrelated to the game out there. So for me, I think, it's very, very key. And one who is also will be speaking as, this very one, he is a very renowned journalist, a senior sport, purveyor, one who served as under the last commissioner of sport, talking about that, which for me, I think he has an in-depth knowledge of the game. So this kind of seminar can actually help to increase or, make the league even more viable.
Joshua Akanji, one senior sports journalist we know here in Nigeria, will be, of course, bringing his wealth of knowledge to sports journalists who will be charged with reporting activities of the clubs as media officers. They really have to be up to date with how to report the activities of their club's side. Meanwhile, we'll now go to the match day 7 results of the Nigeria Premier Football League, and Remo Stars right now top the league after match day 7. Courtesy of that 1-0 win over arch rivals Insurance of Benin. This match took place at the Ikene Stadium in Remo Stadium at Ikene, and it was such a fierce match.
Yeah, very keenly contested account. It was a battle of two heavyweights that was going for the supreme prize, which is all 3 points. It wasn't an easy one for Remo Stars. After losing their last game, they needed all these 3 points at least to also keep themselves in the title chase out there. Though you may want to say it was a very slim victory, but all that matters is the 3 points. It doesn't matter whether it was 100 goals scored or a goal that is scored, but what matters is the 3 points, and they were able to squeeze out all 3 points. So for me, I think it's an impressive one for them.
Talking about squeezing out points, Kwara United did exactly that at the Canopilas Stadium, because they forced Canopilas to a 1-1 draw. Canopilas, after playing so well and winning in the 7-goal thriller at the Cathedral in Enugu, beating Rangers International away, will return home to drop 2 points.
I think for me, I'm very, very impressed with the level of the league, what we are seeing. They lost their last 3 weeks game. They lost to Aqua United 1-0, and they flew straight to Enugu International to keep a date with them, and surprisingly defeated Enugu Rangers 4-3. They went back to Kano, where you should have expected them to get all 3 points, because that is their fortress, but then they could not get all 3 points. They shared the point apiece, and it is the beauty of the league when at least you expect a home team to get all 3 points, but then a away team comes to give them a run for that. So that is what we want to see consistently on the league, where a away team can go away, pick a valuable point, coming back home without any molestation. I think I'm very impressed.
While Canopilas dropped points in Kano, Sunshine Stars didn't drop at all in Akure, because they beat Nasarawa United by 1-0. Abia Warriors were 3-1 better than Plateau United. Bayelsa United as well beat Hadland FC by 1-0. Academy and Eyimba scoreline remain at 1-0 after 90 minutes. Meanwhile, the league, like you mentioned, it seems to be having some kind of top level officiating. You could get points as long as you play well, no matter the venue.
Through and all thanks to the Benga led board, we saw this level of improvement last season. This season as well, they're also trying to complement on what they did last season by making sure that at least if you are good, whether you are playing at home or away, and you deserve a point or 3 points, you take all 3 points because of a fair officiating. And the league body as well has also sound is 10-1, a note of warning to referees and officials out there to be more professional in their dealings. And so for me, I think I'm very, very impressed. This will also help to improve the course of the league, and also help to improve the standings of our referee right here in Nigeria, so that we can begin to see Nigerian referees being selected for CAF organized competition, because it's very bad that whenever we are having any CAF organized competition, most of the Nigerian refs are not carried along because of their poor record or poor performance. You see countries like Burundi, some little country that at least when it has to do with football, at least Nigeria is more better than them. Getting referees to represent them in CAF organized competition. But when it has to do with Nigerian ref, most times they are not being selected. You begin to ask yourself why. Yeah, some of the reasons their lapses are too much. So I think with this level of improvement in the officiating, I think it's going to give the Nigerian Referee Association more, rank to their, what they've been doing, so that at least they continue to get maybe CAF organized competition as maybe an invite to officiate in some of those games.
Match Day 7 results will be concluded today in Mina, where Rivers United will take on Niger Tornadoes of Mina. And let's see whether they can return to the top, courtesy of maximum points out there at the Kantagora Stadium in Mina. Let's now go across to the rest of the world. In the Dominican Republic, the FIFA Under-17 FIFA World Cup is going on for the females, and Nigeria's representative, the Flamingos, continue to score goals aplenty. Remember, in their first game, 4 goals against Ecuador, they beat Ecuador by 4 goals to nothing. This is really flaming Flamingos for Nigeria.
True. I think I'm very impressed with their display so far. They've actually taken a very strong grip at that, group right there. Winning 2 games, scoring 8 goals and considered just a goal. I think for me it was an impressive display. Though the coach of the Dominican Republic came out very plain to also say that the Nigerian girls were very good and would deserve all 3 points. So for me, they've actually qualified for the group stage that is this right now with just a game to spare. So for me, let them continue with this speed, and then maybe we are going to get to the final. But that would be an early call to make. But one thing you can't take away from them is that they've actually started the competition in a very fine note.
Talking about starting on a very fine note, the Flamingos in the Dominican Republic have played 2 games and won the 2 games, scoring 8 goals and conceding only 1 in the process, qualifying for the group stage, the next stage of the competition with 1 match to go. Meanwhile, talking about female football reminds me that the senior national team for the females too have an encounter where 25 players have been invited to camp. Rashida Ajibade and goalkeeper Chiamaka Nazoe for the Super Falcons upcoming match against Algeria. You need to bring your best to prepare for games. We understand the match will take place in Lagos in just about 6 days or so from now.
Yeah, I think the coach of the side have also invited both locally and internationally based players out there. We saw some names that are applying their trade right here in the league, talking about the Nigerian Women League here. We also saw some players who took part in the last Under-20 Women World Cup also being part and parcel of this one. Then begin to talk about the regulars, the likes of Ajibade and the rest of the senior players out there. So for me, I think it is a nice one. Let's see what they can be able to do in the friendly game. But I tell you, it's going to be a very good opportunity for the coach to make some, maybe call it experiment, to discover new legs that can also grow and being integrated into the senior national team as well.
Talking about Nigeria versus Algeria in a friendly encounter on the 26th in Lagos, it will be the first time Lowokere will be completely in charge of this team following the departure of Coach Waldrop. Let's hope that he will do exactly what we saw of Waldrop at the World Cup. Meanwhile, the Confederation of African Football has left out Nigerian referees from the upcoming Women's Champions League. What's going on here? We have this go through with the males. Male Nigerian referees have been ignored, especially for CAF competitions, and now the females looking like not measuring up to the CAF Champions League as well, that is due to take place in Morocco.
Yeah, I think for me, it's just what I was actually trying to point out earlier, that the level of officiating, the improvement we've seen in our league is a very good one, and it's going to be for the good of the Nigerian Referees Association. It has also reflected to what I said earlier. Now, no Nigerian ref is selected for this very one, and it's quite...
We have some Nigerian referees that are FIFA badge.
Yeah.
Why?
The question is why, and for me, I think the why may not just be far from the truth. despite the fact that we have some FIFA badge referee, but then maybe
52 referees are invited for this one in the different categories of both as center referees, assistant referee, video assistant referee, and other match officials. Yet Nigeria is not being considered. It's really, really sad. 52 referees invited across Africa without any coming from Nigeria. Well, let's hope that we'll have the Nigerian Football Federation Refereeing Association as well, find out how they can compete with their colleagues from the rest of Africa for the continental showpieces, both in the Champions League and the CAF Confederations Cup as well. We really need to see Nigerian referees, officiate at continental level. Meanwhile, the under-17 AFCON qualifier seems to be brewing some crisis, because ahead of the African under-17 Nation qualifier, we have, that's in the Wafu Cup Group A, there seems to be some crisis rocking the teams.
Yeah, I think it's not far from being that some of the medical teams out there could not also give their certification for some of these teams. So I think it's because of that some teams have been dropped because they failed to meet up with the medical requirement to what is expected of them.
Well, now let's quickly go to Europe. I'm talking about Europe. Reminds me that Victor Osimhen was in the news for very good reasons. At the weekend, he scored a goal, very beautiful bicycle kick for his club as they won. Galatasaray won Atalanspor in the Turkish league.
Yeah, very great way to come back after that 2 weeks injury. Though the coach of the side, Burak, did not introduce him in the first half. He kept him on the bench, brought him on in the 70-something minute. He came back and did the magic. That bicycle kick was a wonder goal. 3 goals he has so far, plus other assists. I think for me, it's a great way for him to return back.
Well, this is the third time that we've seen the goal machine open his account for the team. But we remember that 3-3 draw against Kasim Pansa before being leader for injury concerns. We hope that he will stay away from injuries, because injury seems to be part of his game, and it happens too often. He just came back from injury and now scoring goals. So we wish him a very strong state of health. Meanwhile, across Turkey, we'll go to England, where there were matches at the weekend. First, it was Arsenal that suffered a 2-0 loss to a relatively weak side, Bournemouth. This was, I think, the second victory in the league for the year 2024. What could have happened to Arsenal?
I think the red card had a way of affecting one of their key central defenders, talking about William Saliba, got red carded in that very encounter. And I think that actually affected Arsenal display.
Scoreline was goalless before it was red carded.
Yeah, so for me, it was a very disappointing outing. Though red card is not an excuse, part of the game. We've seen team, playing 10 against 11.
Arsenal is not there for playing 10 against 11 and getting results.
Of course, so they did it against
Manchester City. Yes, they won't have to complain that it has to do with red card. I think it was a bad day in the office for Arsenal. They went to Wolves and were beaten by 2-0. Wolverhampton Wanderers looks like a team that was going to surprise Manchester City. By the end of 90 minutes, it was Manchester City that beat them by 2-1. But the biggest encounter at the weekend was the encounter that took place at Anfield, Liverpool against Chelsea. At 90 minutes plus added time, it was 2-1 in favor of Liverpool. Chelsea seeing some of their goals chopped off by the video assistant referee and players being caught in offside positions.
I think it was very controversial. Talking about the center, it was very, very controversial at some point in the game out there. If not for the video assistant ref, if not, he would have awarded a second penalty to Liverpool. But then the center and the VAR had to call him before he went to the monitor screen to take a look at it. It was a very keenly contested encounter. You want to say, yeah, Chelsea did their best because Chelsea outplayed Liverpool at their home ground. Take a look at the statistics: ball possession, complete passes, shot on off target, and all of that. So for me, I think Chelsea gave a good account of themselves, but then it just wasn't meant to be, as the Red had a better of them. 2-1, and Slot continued his impressive start, winning 9 out of 10 games so far. Let's see if we can continue to keep up this momentum. But I tell you, it was a very exciting game over the weekend.
Liverpool at the top of the league table?
Yeah.
Well, let's see the other results played at the weekend in the Premier League in England. Tottenham Hotspur hammered West Ham by 4-1. It looks like a child's play when we saw West Ham lead Tottenham Hotspur, at the London Stadium. Meanwhile, Fulham, another London side, lost at home. They were beaten by Aston Villa by 3-1. Ipswich Town continue to show why they will have to return back to the championship because they were beaten at home by Everton by 2-0. Manchester United showed that they are capable to compete this season by beating Brentford by 2-1. That looks like a difficult encounter, but yet they had all 3 points.
Yeah, difficult one for Manchester United. It wasn't a convincing performance from Manchester United, especially with the pressure being mounted around Eric Ten Hag. Let's see if Eric Ten Hag is going to hang on.
Well, he has to hang on, but Newcastle didn't do that because Brighton beat them by 1-0 at their own stadium. Meanwhile, Southampton as well looks like a team that will return back to the championship because they were beaten by 3-2 by Leicester City at their own home ground. Across to Spain, it was an encounter that a lot of people want to look forward to. But just before they will look at that big one that happened at Barcelona Stadium, Real Mallorca beat Real Vallecano by 1-0. Atletico Madrid really dug deep by beating Leganes by 3-1. It was 1-1 between Getafe and Villarreal, while Bilbao beat Espanyol by 4-1. But the encounter that took place in the La Liga that was of note was the encounter between Barcelona and FC Sevilla. It ended 5-1. Wow, the young boys were on, do I say, go hunt.
Yeah, it was a 5-star performance from the Catalan-based club of thanks to Robert Lewandowski, Rafinha, and Torres, who was brought on in the second half and scored 2 quick goals that gave them the 5-1 victory. The Hansi Flick side is doing a great job ahead of the El Clasico come next week.
Well, when you talk about Barcelona, you need to think of FC Madrid. Madrid, of course, beat their opponents by 2-1. Let's quickly go to the top league in Italy. There's the Italian Calcio. It was Napoli beating Empoli by 1-0, and it was 6 goals for Fiorentina against Lecce, and a away win that was. Atalanta beat Valencia by 2-0. Cagliari were 3-2 better than Torino, while Inter Milan went away to beat Roma by 1-0. AC Milan beat Udinese by 1-0. Juventus were 1 goal better than Lazio as well. It looks like there was good drought out there, but that's what it is. Across to Germany, it looked very good, happy one for Harry Kane. He had a hat-trick in his encounter for Bayern Munich against RB Leipzig. Leipzig should not be conceding as many goals, you can say 4-0 on the night. What do you make of it?
Not a good one for RB Leipzig, who is also challenging for the title. Don't forget they are seated second as it is right now. Not a good one for them at all.
Well, let's see. One result of note was the encounter where we have Nigeria's Victor Boniface. We understand he was involved in an accident, scored a goal, and maybe going to the airport with a friend. He was involved in an accident that saw his hand being bloodied. Is Victor Boniface okay?
Yeah, I think he's in a very good condition. We thank God for his life. Less than 24 hours after he scored a winning goal for his Bayern Leverkusen side, he was involved in a ghastly motor accident. But we thank God that no life was lost.
On that note, we would like to take the end of today's program, but sure, we bring you maximum result, all of the results of the matches played across Europe and of course in the Nigerian Premier League on our program Sports Extraordinary at 6 p.m. Nigerian time. So you have to join us then for all of the results of matches played at the weekend. Until then, remember, peace and unity are clearly pathways to progress. Always enjoy here on Atlantic Television Network.